Welcome to the Well Podcast. Thank you for joining me once again. I'm your host, George Masri, and today I interviewed Patrick Francey, who is currently the CEO of REIN, the Real Estate Investment Network, or actually Real Estate Intelligence Network, I believe it's called today. So he's an educator, a speaker, and the host of the Everyday Millionaire podcast, on top of being the CEO of the company. He's been a multiple business owner, a proud husband, father, and grandfather. And on this episode, we discussed a lot of really cool things. First of all, how he began investing in real estate, his introduction to REIN back in the early 2000s. He met Don R Campbell, who's the previous or the former CEO of the company, and he ended up actually buying the company from Don at the time. We also discussed the purpose and benefits of REIN, their vision for the future with COVID and all the things, all the limitations of in-person meetings. We talked about their vision for the future. And then we also talked about how REIN is different from other investment groups. So there's a lot of cool things in here. I know you're going to enjoy this. And if you do, I ask you to leave us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast platform. And it would be great if you can share this with your family and friends. Let's get the word out there. Again, my goal is just simply to impact people, to motivate them to invest in real estate and to improve their lives. Welcome to the Well Podcast, where the goal is to motivate, inspire, and share success principles. I'm here with Patrick Francey, who is the CEO of REIN. Patrick, welcome to the show. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me along. Looking forward to the conversation.
Great. I like to start off by asking you a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, and maybe one or two things you remember.
Well, yeah, where did I grow up? I grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, and kind of on the wrong side of the tracks back in those days. I was one of 4 kids, 2 working parents even back then. And, I have lots of great memories about my childhood, but it was really limited because of, really just, how much money my parents didn't have, perhaps, or what, they grew up in a farm community. So really humble in that regard. And pretty plain Jane. We grew up in a 4, 5, 6 people in a 1,000 square foot, 950 square foot home. 1 bathroom, by the way. No bathroom downstairs. So That was my life. Yeah.
Cool. So tell me a bit about your journey. How did you get involved with REIN? Were you there right from the beginning? And just maybe talk us through how you became the CEO.
Well, I call that another entrepreneurial accident, which I've had a few in my life. And so at the end of the day, what I know as far back as I can remember, there was a place where I really recognized that I wanted to be a business guy, an entrepreneur, whatever that meant, and perhaps I didn't even really understand what that meant. But even back as, I actually had some clear memories of it when I was 12 or 13 years old. Now, my parents, neither of them were entrepreneurial, but in the way I was raised and the conversations that I did have with my father, I did see that, at least in my brain, it made sense to be a business owner, to be an entrepreneur. And so that's kind of how I was wired right from the beginning and early on. So I ended up, I worked actually in the oil field for about 8 years. So I started my journey into that space in 1977. I left that space in 1984, had some amazing training at a corporate level and as a young man growing up. And, I came out when the recession hit Alberta in the early 80s, and National Energy Program, those kinds of things went on. Anyways, that was my first entrepreneurial accident. I ended up buying a retail business that I still own today, by the way. So 35 years later, I still own that business. And along the way, I really tried to model some of my thoughts and learn from people I knew, other business owners. And so what I noticed about all of these business owners was that regardless of how much money they made, and some of them made a lot of money in their business, they all had an interest in real estate. So about 20 years ago, it occurred to me that, the business was doing quite well. It was some profitability and that was cool. But how was I planning for my future? Was I going to be able to exit the business by selling it? Was I going to have enough? Where was I going to take this capital invested? And in Alberta at the time, real estate started to show up. And that was about 1999. And so really, I started my journey of investing in real estate in 2001. And that was after I came across the Real Estate Investment Network. They put on at the time, which was a quick start event, which was what we call an acre event, and ultimately has morphed and changed. But it was a workshop about investing in real estate. So that's a long story, but that's how I got involved in REIN. And that was back in 2000. I got to know Don R Campbell very, very well. And he invited me to work with him in about 2008. And I was transitioning out of my business. I didn't want to work in the business anymore. Pretty proficient on its own. And so I took the opportunity to move into British Columbia, kind of part-time, and work with REIN directly. And then ultimately I bought the business from Don back in 2011.
Well, okay. So you basically had your retail business, and then in 2000, you went to the Acre event, or 2001. You started investing back then after seeing what they were doing. You built a relationship with Don Campbell, and eventually you bought the business from him. So what was the journey in between? Like, did you amass a lot of real estate in that time, or what were you doing between 2001 and 2011?
Yeah, we were definitely buying a lot of real estate at the time. Now, we were primarily investing in Alberta. I'd had a partner in Alberta and then I invested a lot in a lot of real estate in Edmonton, but as well into Grand Prairie. Now, in that world, that turned out to be not ideal. I actually exited those properties about 3 years ago. My partner bought me out. My joint venture partner bought me out, and I exited those properties. And that all makes sense, and it was the right move to make. However, I still own my portfolio in Edmonton, which is a mix of residential and some light industrial, and I own the properties that my store operates out of as well.
Awesome. Now let's go to 2011. What made you want to buy REIN, and also what was your vision? What was your motivation for buying the company?
Well, REIN's it's an interesting beast. There's so much that is. So from my own values, within the context of my own values, I really have a purpose of supporting others' success, and not just necessarily financially, but personally, professionally. I do a lot of coaching in the space of not only small business coaching, but personal development, self-discovery work, professional development. And I know what lights me up is being a contribution, supporting other success. Now, REIN is kind of a perfect model for that, because we're actually supporting people in creating a financial future. We believe strongly in real estate. REIN is about a system. It has a very, very strong brand in this space. We're the only national organization that provides this level of education. But on top of that, and behind all of it, we get to support people busting through some of their fears, where they get stuck, the stories we tell ourselves and not take action. So there's a real dynamic to the Real Estate Investment Network. And back in 2011, Don was, quite frankly, he was ready to exit. And I had a partner back then that we bought the business. That partnership, we dissolved, different goals, different ideas about how to move forward with the business. But I maintained the business. I kept the business, and now the sole owner of it. But the vision of the business was really to continue to be a national organization of supporting really what we would call, individuals and everyday people in creating a financial future by teaching them how to invest in real estate and not speculate, not get caught in the hype of, this deal or that deal, but to actually use a system, to understand there is a process, to actually learn about the economic fundamentals that drive real estate so that you can engage in it and risk mitigate and have some success in it. And REIN has been doing that for 29 years, and I've been part of that journey for a long time. So it's kind of an ideal world for me. I get to be a contribution. I get to support other people's success, share in their wins, and so that was what really drove me to do it. It's one of my highest values, is to support others' success.
Great. What would you say would be the biggest benefit to joining REIN? Is it the education? Is it the relationships that you build? What is it in your opinion?
Well, it's both of those things, but there's a number of things, a number of factors about creating an environment for yourself. And I often use the expression that real estate doesn't fail us, we fail real estate. And in order to succeed, whether it's in business or in real estate, in your career, it doesn't really matter. It boils down to some fundamental things: is what is the environment that you're creating for yourself? I use a bit of an analogy, or perhaps a metaphor maybe, is I say to just as an example, somebody buys a pet. And and I know that sounds a little like, what the hell are you talking about right now? But the reality of it is, somebody buys a dog, and we've all probably had that, not had the experience, but maybe know somebody who's had the experience. And they bring their dog home, they buy it. It's like and the next thing you know, the dog's chewing through the door. The kids agreed to feed the dog and walk the dog, and nobody's doing that. And nobody's cleaning up the backyard, and it's digging holes. And, the whole experience of the dog is really kind of off the rails, if you will. And then soon, next thing you know, the dog bit somebody, or it bit the kid, or there was some kind of, event that was not good or ongoing. Now, the other side of that coin is those people that get a dog, they have a very serious family conversation, they put plans together, they have a bed, they know who's going to feed, they all have an agreement of how they're going to do that, they're going to train the dog. So they create an environment that is not only great for the dog and supports the dog being an amazing dog, but its interaction with the family. And real estate, to me, is the same way. When you look at how do you, and in any scenario, by the way, business is the same. What is the environment that you're creating for yourself? And what REIN is an environment. It is a community of like-minded individuals. There's nobody in REIN saying, you're crazy investing in real estate, don't you know it's a bubble? That doesn't happen, because you're in a community and in an environment of like-minded individuals. It's a culture of support. Like, the thing about REIN and REIN members is they want to support others because they've been through it. Don't make my mistake. How do I deal with this tenant? I don't know what to do. 50 people can say, I've had this experience, here's what you do. So that culture of support and the environment that you create is very, very important. And so that's what really REIN is about. Then on top of that, it's the how-tos, it's the actual dynamic of what's the strategy, what's the tactic, based on one of our, really one of the pillars of REIN is the economic research that we do, and the context we provide for that economic research and how it applies to real estate, and for investors to make decisions that are, like I say, they're not speculative. They are actually based on some foundational economic fundamentals that drive real estate.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so what I'm hearing you say is that the benefits of joining REIN would be, well, first of all, the support, the environment, and also all the research and the knowledge that you gain from being at the events. Yeah,
it's all about the network. It is, we're coast to coast, like we're shoreline to shoreline. So, within a culture, within a community, within an environment lives it's a total ecosystem. So that when you're talking to a realtor, it's a investor focused realtor. It's not somebody who sells houses. It's somebody who's investor focused, because when you're an investor, everything changes. The mortgage broker you talk to, the realtor that you talk to, has to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. You're not buying a home. You're buying really bricks and mortar, if you will. Somebody else is making it a home, your tenant. But ultimately, these are, you take the emotion out of it, just make real hard decisions. So you need to create an environment and a network of individuals who understand what real estate and investing is all about.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And as you're saying that, something comes to mind. I'm just wondering if REIN has some sort of input as to, like, for example, in the province of Ontario, landlord tenant board issues, that type of thing. Does REIN have a say in maybe certain changes that we are hoping to get as landlords to make things a little bit more, create a more level playing field? Or as an entity, you're not really able to give your input in that scenario?
It doesn't. Yeah, we've often been asked, why don't we form a lobby group? But that is a huge undertaking, and you've got a community that's kind of ever changing. Yeah. And so within the community, however, because what's happening in Alberta, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, different than what's happening in Ontario, Manitoba. It's it's all these provincial issues that show up, and then of course municipal issues. Look at Calgary when they were going through their issues around basement suites, for example. So there's so many dynamics, and it's hard for us to get engaged in that. Having said that, We have some very progressive members of the community who are actually quite diligent in and working hard and behind the scenes with those municipal governments and trying to make change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much that can happen, and you guys are influencing people in a lot of ways. I did touch on vision earlier, so I guess I asked you, what was your vision at the time when you bought the company? Has that vision changed? Do you see REIN growing? And maybe, I don't know if you're in the States or if you plan on being there. And what do the next 5-10 years look like for REIN?
Well, that's a great question, by the way, because when we look at what REIN was, it's evolved over the years. We went from a live event, doing 50, 60 events a year. And we were always very progressive. We were always looking into the future and the efficiencies and how do we best impact. Now, lots of people love those live events. Nobody liked it more than the team. We love being on stage. We love the interaction with the community. Keep in mind, these aren't one-off events. They're not we have members who've been part of this community 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. So, you get to know people, and it's awesome to have, some of them I consider good friends. Definitely many I consider very good acquaintances. So the point is that as much as we love that model, it was having to evolve and change. Number one, it was limiting us in terms of our growth. At the end of the day, we were traveling Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa. We were doing monthly rotations. Like I say, no problem with that. But it was becoming also a little bit cost prohibitive, and we didn't want to have to increase the membership fees. Now, COVID happened to hit, and we were already on a path going, we need to consider how do we communicate with a bigger audience. It was really about growth of REIN into more households, more conversations, supporting people in owning 1, 2, 3 doors. Often we get caught in the own 100 doors, own 50 doors, and there's lots of that, and there's many within the community that actually do that. We have people that are just full-time real estate investors. They're fixing, flipping, they're burring, they're rent-to-own specialists. They just own big portfolios. But that's really, that's cool, but that's a very small percentage of who the average REIN member is when you look at the overall picture. So when we pivoted in March of 2020, when COVID hit, it was really for us, we just flipped a switch and went to work. We were already on that path where we were doing virtual meetings. Our team is international. Out of country, my whole executive team is actually spread out across Canada. So we were already in Zoom mode. So we just flipped the switch and have been doing lots of events ever since then. And so the actual vision for REIN is to continue to be in this virtual world. We'd love to do 3 or 4 live events a year, big live events, because we love them, and continue to kind of teach people how to invest in real estate. We recently launched the REIN channel, which we're quite excited about. It's an initiative. It may be a little ahead of its time, but we're going forward with it. We launched earlier this year. The REIN channel is really our own platform. We refer to it as the Netflix for real estate investors. So the REIN channel is the opportunity for investors to have online education, economic updates, master classes, and a lot of content there to absorb at your own kind of in your own time frame. Stop, start, make notes, do whatever you want to do. But really for us, we're driving a lot of content into that platform called the REIN channel. Very affordable. You don't have to drive anywhere or park anywhere. I want to say it's like $34.95 a month or something. I don't remember the rate, and we're often doing deals right now for promotional stuff. But yeah, we've got a good uptake on our REIN channel, and then we're doing what we would call traditional REIN, which is all access, where we're having meetings. It's actually a mentorship and coaching program that we're morphing into on a larger scale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and after mentioning all that, if somebody's like a new investor and they have like all these different options of groups to join, what would separate REIN from some of the other real estate groups that might be some of the local groups?
Okay, well, that's a great question. And this isn't to make any other groups wrong. What separates us from almost all the other groups is we don't sell real estate. Because we specialize in economic research, we believe and have always believed that in order for us to provide you unbiased research and views of the world, views of a city or a province, we can't be selling you real estate. Because if we're selling you real estate, then guess what? Wherever we own real estate, it's going to be the best place to invest. And that really kind of skews the view of the world when it comes to the economic research.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't sell real estate. We don't sell $30,000 coaching programs. And really, we have an affordable entry point. Membership is, really a couple $100 a month, $2,400 a year. And then there's different points of entry where you could get in even lighter than that. So really at the high end, what we call, our all access program is, call it $2,500 a year. And ultimately that gives you access to REIN channel, which is more content than most people can even take on. We often get the comment in the first 6 months or so of members is that it's like drinking from a fire hose, and that's all good. I mean, it's common to be overwhelmed with new data, new information, new learning. But then we have our monthly live events, and in those events is networking opportunities, Q&A opportunities, what we call our coaching and mentorship, and we really drill down on some specifics in terms of strategies, tactics, what's going on economically, an economic update. So those are all the things we do in the monthly events as well.
Cool. So I know you kind of touched on this earlier, but this is my last question. The future of REIN, is it going to be more virtual with a couple of live events a year? Or do you think that in a few years, you're going to go back to doing the monthly events or whatever, something along those lines?
Yeah, I don't see us going back doing monthly events. It's just, number one, it's cost prohibitive. And secondly, given what's going on from pandemic, from COVID, I don't see being able to reach and really touch the volume of people that we want to have an impact on. When we look at creating those financial futures and investing in real estate, it's more than just investing in real estate. It's also understanding, what the economic fundamentals of a region are. It's also understanding the fear that we bump up against or our own ceiling of limitations based on our belief systems. So when we take those into consideration, do we want to do live events? 100%. And I suspect that, 3 or 4 larger events per year is where we'll try and get to. It's just so early to tell in the conversation where that might end up, given all of the things that are happening in the world, kind of a new world of COVID and rules and restrictions and, vax passes and all the things that go with it. It's really quite so it's hard to foresee that, but it's hard to picture into that. Yes, we do want to go back to live events. We love them, and it really floats our boat. But the other side of it is we've gotten exceptionally good. I think second to no one in the virtual world of being able to support our community of real estate investors in all aspects of investing in real estate, and that includes really connecting people within the ecosystem of expertise and being able to get deals done. What we're seeing a lot of right now is how much capital is flowing out of Ontario and British Columbia, for example, into Alberta. And what's important to understand about that is that in order to be living in Ontario and then saying, well, no, economically, I see the future of Calgary and I want to invest capital there, that takes a team. So what we are able to do, once again, because of the ecosystem and we are national in scope, is just connect the dots. So an investor in Ontario has no problem being able to get aligned with a realtor, a mortgage broker, a property manager, really a developer, anything they need if they want to put capital into Calgary, as an example. Or it could be the other way. I mean, we have many investors that are now looking at the East Coast and saying, I want to get into the East Coast. So that's really what we're driving to do all the time.
Awesome. Yeah, well, you guys are doing great things. I know a lot of members that have had a lot of success by being a part of your group. So keep on doing what you're doing. We're going to jump into the next section, which is the random 5. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You just tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
The first one's really easy. Do you have any nicknames?
PF, really simple. People, PF. Yeah, just my initials. It seems to be the thing, and it's been that way for years.
Okay, cool. Number 2, have you ever saved someone's life?
Have you ever saved somebody's life? Let me think about that for a second. Yes, many years ago as a young man in a swimming incident. Somebody was literally going under, and I was able to get them to something that they could hang on to that was out of their reach. And so, yeah, I guess I did at that time.
Cool. I feel like I've asked this question before, even though it's supposed to be random, but it always seems to be a water incident that people relate to. Yeah. So number 3, what's your go-to dance move?
Do I have a go-to dance move? You know, I'm a pretty good dancer. Do I have a dance move? You know, it's been so many years. Like, so my wife and I, we dance together. Like, we're good partners on the dance floor, and we enjoy it. I don't know if I have a go-to move.
Okay.
I really don't, you know?
All right. Fair enough. At least we know you're a good dancer.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, by my standards.
Yeah.
My wife might not agree, by the way.
Okay. Number 4, if you could live in a book, TV show, or movie, what would it be?
You know what? If I'm going to be in a TV show, I want to have fun with it. And right now, I'm in the middle of watching Ted Lasso, and that looks like fun. So I think I would go there.
Okay. There you go. Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Number 5, what fictional place would you most like to go to? That's kind of a similar question, but yeah.
A fictional place, you know, I don't know what it's called, but you know, an enchanted forest looks really, really appealing and kind of fun and interesting. So, you know, any enchanted forest kind of thing would be kind of cool.
Cool. I wonder if there are any, you know, like, I don't know, like at Disneyland or something like that, where they would create an enchanted forest. That'd be pretty cool.
Oh, for sure. Sure. But yeah. But that's, you know, but I would want it real. Like
a real one. Yeah.
Make stuff up. No. If we're going to dream, we're going to dream that there's an enchanted forest and it's the real deal.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So that wraps things up. Do you want to tell people what services you or REIN provides? And also, if they needed to reach you, what would be the best way?
Well, you know, I'm always available on at CEO@REINCanada.com. So CEO@REINCanada.com. Definitely there. We've got an event coming up November 6th, 7th, I believe, or 5th, 6th. I've lost track of the dates. That's a summit, and it's called the Real Estate Reset. And what we're calling it the Great Real Estate Reset, because we see some really, really interesting stuff in the future around a number of different issues. And so we're excited about that event. And we love these big events that we're doing. So that's a virtual event. You can register for that. And REIN Channel, of course, is really cool. If people are interested in learning more about that, they could just go to REINChannel.com and take a look at that. And then the one thing that my wife, Stephanie Hanlon, Francey, is an Olympic coach, has been for many years, and she's a mental and athletic performance coach. But the mental performance side of it, her and I have been doing for many, many years as coach. And we are launching a new program called Mindset Matters. And it's really not just about real estate. It's just about life. It's about dealing with, you know, how we view the world right now. And so we're launching that as well. So lots of things going on in the background with the Real Estate Investment Network. And all of that is accessible if you go to REINCanada.com. You'll learn a lot about what we do and how we do it and what events we've got going on. And we're always excited to share that.
Awesome. I'll be sure to include the information in the show notes. I appreciate you doing this, and I wish you all the best. Thanks
for having me on the show. Enjoyed it.
As always, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the content. And if you did, I ask you to share this with a friend, with a family member, somebody who might benefit. And it's always appreciated if you can leave us a review, especially if you're listening to it on the Apple Podcasts app, or if you're on YouTube, give us a like, subscribe, comment, and your support is always appreciated. Thank you very much.